my greasy laptop. Excuse me. I wonder if I have enough of this. That's the only maroon I have. And then I have red. Or I can do white. I'm not sure what I want to do. Oh no, I have two. Yay! Are these the same ones? How can you tell? They look the same. And these must be the same. I guess I'll use these. Hi, Martha. I've been sewing my little heart out. I need to make some bobbins. Hi, Cruzita. If you guys can't tell, I'm stuffed up over here. I think it's allergies and just seasonal change. I always get like that when the weather changes. And it just happened to be this week. Oh, snap. I'm supposed to fill my bobbin. I hate it. Nose is stuffy and my head feels like a balloon that needs to pop. I hope you guys are doing way better. Just get this ready. I'm tired, but I'm not tired. I'm bored. I slept. I sewed all day, and then when Kiana came back from school, I laid down and I fell asleep. So maybe I'll do one for now. I fell asleep and I barely woke up earlier. I have an extra thread right there just in case. Hopefully I have enough. I should. Do you guys work when you guys are sick? I'm supposed to go to sell tomorrow in Globe. I don't know if I want to. Yesterday I felt fine. Today was a little different. And I already put the word out there. I already paid for my spot too. That I was going to be there. I'm really, really thinking hard if I should go or not. Maybe I'll see how I feel in the morning. But for right now, my head is just, I feel like I need to stick a needle in my head. Let all that pressure out. I was waiting for the guy on TikTok to go live for his scary stories. His name is Sean. It sucks when you gotta work and you're sick. See, I'm like, well, people even want to be around me. It's an outdoor event, and I'm not gonna be in anybody's face, but I will have to do a lot of talking, and that's where I'm like, dang, it's gonna be real obvious that I'm sick, And I'm like, am I wasting my time going over there? And people are gonna be like, I don't want to. I told my kids, like, if anything, you guys are gonna have to like package the stuff so I don't touch anything. But I'm kind of like, are people even gonna buy because I'm gonna be all sick? Would you guys buy stuff from someone who's sick? That's kind of where I'm like, should I go or no? Let me see if Sean's on. I swear he goes. Is it tonight? Oh, I could have sworn he goes live tonight. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Or it might be Saturday. I'll have to look at his page real quick. Oh, come on. What the hell's wrong with this? It's that one. Ugh. My keys aren't working. Is it locked? I know there's a lock on it sometime. The computer's acting up. Interesting. Take hand sanitizer. I think that would be good. Where did it die out? Come on, there it goes. I wonder what happened. I could have sworn is it Saturday? No, it can't be because he goes live on Sundays. Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, then he goes Wednesday, Thursday, and I think it's Friday. I think it is tonight. Or am I tripping? It has to be tonight because he goes live on Sunday nights. Hi, Sarah. My day was busy. I was sewing away, but I am under the weather. So I'm wondering if I should go tomorrow to my sale or not. It's about an hour and go tomorrow. You guys might have to handle all my stuff, like.
Are you using this?
Wash it out, Keanu. Everybody's all sick.
Nani? Doing good, Nani.
I'm just trying to make my job too easy. I just got out of the custody hearing that I wanted.
What?
I'm watching that movie again.
What movie?
Um, 10.
Is he not going live tonight?
If water was beer and I...
If not, we could listen. This is lives at 9 p.m. New Mexico time. Isn't it already 9 p.m. New Mexico time? Or am I tripping? If not, we can listen to Desiree's. I've been listening to Desiree. She's the one from Canada, the one that I was listening to last time. She has a playlist on TikTok. This is her right here. This is Desiree. I don't know if you guys recognize this little dude right here. That's Baby Ope. That's her son. He's like pretty well known in the powwow circuit, but that's her, Desiree. She came to our powwow in March. I didn't even know she was gonna come. I just heard I heard the announcer or the MC say something about Ope and Desiree, and I was like, are they here? And then sure enough, I saw Big Ope, and then I was like, where's Des? So she's cool. She's funny. I'm going to go on her. Damn, look how much followers she has. 258,000. But she has a playlist on her TikTok. You guys want to listen to scary stories while I sew?
Bluetooth pairing.
I've been listening to it today.
Bluetooth connected.
And forget where I left off at.
This story takes place on. Okay, so I was in the bathroom and I'm like, okay,
all the heart ones I listened to already.
Okay, so there it was in the car.
Leave each other alone, County.
Another point to make. I've shared this story before.
I wish I was at my friend's house.
Tell him to pick you up.
At this time? Wait, actually, oh yeah, wait.
Me and my dad saw a hoof man on our,
Best friend night.
in honor of it being October.
Okay.
Me and my dad saw the hoof man on our res getting firewood. He came out of the bushes and asked my dad for
A little bit. Damn,
He
these
was
guys always
confused why
drink
he
all
was
my
in the bush, but
stuff.
My dad looked down and saw.
There's all kinds of drinks in there, and you guys want to drink mine?
Oh my god, I would die. I would die. I'd be like, what the fuck?
These guys
What
are
are
sugar ants.
those?
Don't know how to drink water.
What are those? Me and my dad saw the hoof man on our res getting firewood. He came out of the bushes and asked my dad for a smoke, and he was confused why he was in the bush, but my dad looked down and... I have a story. It was in Rosser, Saskatchewan, early 90s. I was a kid, and my parents were having a big shaker at my house. Weekday, mind you. It was during the week, and then they had people over, and they're having drinks and stuff like that. And I was there, but I was sleeping. And I guess, they were still playing, CCR in the background. This was before they brought out the guitars and started singing like Once We Were Warriors.
Go on, Johnny.
Just kidding, but so anyways, they were like partying, everything was all good, and there was two women that nobody knew who they were, and these women were just laughing, and they just had like really wicked like cackles. My dad, when he told me the story later, he would say they kind of sounded like witches, and he's like, to the point where other people started to feel uncomfortable, and they started to just kind of focus in and wonder like, hey, what's so funny? And they'd be like, "Shh, not that funny, like what are these women laughing at?" And then it just started to just kind of make it uncomfortable for everybody else. And then my dad or my mom or whoever was like, "Where are you girls from?" And they're like, they were just laughing. They like wouldn't even acknowledge them, and it just was like, where the hell did these bitches come from? Anyways, meanwhile, my dad went to go use the washroom, and he was doing his business in the bathroom, and he said he was just like, he just had this ugly feeling, and of course he was half cut, and then he just said he heard like it sounded like there's like a damn horse inside the shower, like a shower curtain over it, and then he just kind of like he just like, what the fuck, and he like opened up the shower curtain and looked, and he seen a tail and hooves, and he just like jumped out, and he just like went running out. Didn't even wash his hands, didn't like his phone. Just kidding, no, I don't know, he was just a guy, whatever it was. He went running out, and then he told everybody, like everybody's like, hey, get the fuck out, like get everyone, the party's over, get out. And he's like, those women were just like still laughing, and he's like, get out, telling everyone to get out. And then so like meanwhile, like shit, I was there, man. I was there, freaking witches and devil upstairs and shit, I was sleeping. but that's an important story, and my dad would share that to me later. And I remember a lot of partying when I was a kid and stuff like that, but that scared my dad and my parents sober. They put away alcohol and stuff like that after that. My dad just they just quit after that. My dad was saying, that's enough now, like that. And he said that's like basically a warning from darkness, and they had that in our home and everything like that. So yeah, my dad would share that with me. And that's a true story from Roston, early 90s. I have a story. It was in Rosser, Saskatchewan, early 90s. I was like, so in honor of it being spooky season, I'm going to share some stories. Go ahead and inbox me some stories, but I got this one shared to me. This happened in 2008 in Frog Lake. And a group of friends, they went to Fishing Lake to go see some friends, but they ended up, when they got there, no one was there. So they turned back and said, let's go back to Frog Lake. And then they're going back to Frog Lake. They were following a really slow truck that was carrying oil. It was driving really slow, so they just like, pass it. So they passed it. And then I hear that truck turned, and then once they passed that truck, there was a girl that came from the ditch, like out of nowhere. She just hopped out of the ditch, and she was just waving her arms. She's like, hey. And then they're like, oh, shit. So they like pulled over for her. So this girl, she had like grown up blonde hair, and she was wearing a white t-shirt and shorts, and which is like they thought it was really cold already by this time, and they were like, because it was the fall, and they thought it was kind of weird that she was dressed like under the weather because it was like super cold, and so she was like, "Where are you guys going?" And she was like, "Are you guys going to Frog Lake?" And then they're like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Well, can I catch a ride?" She wanted to go use the payphone at the general store, and so they said, "Yeah, okay, we can drive you to the general store." So once they're on the road back to Frog Lake, the guy that was sitting in the back was like, "Hey, can I switch spots with you?" to the passenger, and then she was just like, "Hell no!" And he's like, "I'm getting creeped out. Like this girl's creeping me out," and she's just like, I don't know if they were like really just like doing that right in front of her, like, "Yo, this girl is looking freaking me out." But somehow they were like, "Can I switch you spots?" And then they're like, "No." And then she was just like, "Come on now, please." And she's like, "Hell no." As this girl just like had weird energy, the vibe was off. So once they were getting close to Frog Lake, they got pulled over by the cops, and then the cops came and asked for all of the IDs, and everybody, the three people gave them the cops the IDs, but she didn't give her ID, and she doesn't think that the cops seen her because she was like, "Why didn't you give the cops your ID?" She said she didn't have ID, and so anyways, the cop said, "Well, you guys have to get out and wait at the general store or whatever." So they all got out, and then they were walking towards the general store. So when they're outside the general store, they were like telling that one girl, like, "Hey, there's the payphone," and they're trying to like ditch her, like they're trying to like get rid of her, but she's kind of like latching onto them or whatever like that. And then they're like, "Go use the phone over there." And then once she went over to go use the phone, the other ones were like, "Hey, let's go walk to like a different store." And I guess that store was further away. And then once they started going, they just try to ditch that girl because they're like, she was like, the vibes were just like weird. She was giving out weird vibes. So they just like started booking it. That one friend just started booking it, and the other one was like, "Hey, I'm running too." And so they just kind of went running. And then once they went running, they stopped for air because they were just like, we could going full tilt. And then they stopped, and they're like, it's like catching air. And then all of a sudden that girl comes out of nowhere, and she's like, "Why are you guys running?" And like they were just like, "Where the hell?" Like she went to go use the payphone, and then they went like ditching her, and then all of a sudden she showed up, and she's like, "Why are you guys running?" And then they're just like, "Oh, we're just trying to get to the store fast." And she was just like, wasn't buying it. And she knew that they were trying to ditch her. Anyways, this girl started acting like really weird, kind of like spun out, and she was just like spinning around. She's like laughing, and she's just like, like, she's like, it's acting stunned. And then she's like, yeah, twirling around and like laughing. And then that one, one of the guys there was just like, she was like, "Hey, get off the middle of the road. Someone will come." And that guy was like, "Hey, stop talking to her, man. She's weird. Like, quit egging her on," kind of thing like that. Like, she didn't even listen. She was just kind of twirling around, just like acting spun out. So 2 cars were coming like from each direction, and she's like, "Get off the road." She was telling that girl because she was just like spinning around, acting stunned. All of a sudden, when they're looking, that girl wasn't there anymore. And then when that car came closer, all of a sudden that girl jumped in front of that car and then got hit by that car. And they're all like, oh, they were just like freaking out. All of a sudden that car just kind of swerved, and then like all of a sudden that girl was like, "Oh my gosh, that car's coming towards me." She just like, "Oh my God." And she seen those headlights coming towards her, and her friend just kind of like tackled her and pushed her off the way. And then like they just like kind of took off. So when the other one came up, she went and seen that girl. It was just that one, the one who was spitting there, is acting up there. She was like, "Oh, my arm. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Oh." And then she got up and she's like, "Oh my God, are you okay? And then they're like going to check on that girl, and she's like, oh. And she's just acting like really just having a hard time on the thing. Like she got hit by the car. And then she's just like, my arm. And then all of a sudden she just stopped crying and then just looked at her and then smiled and was like, "You really fucking believe me?" And she was like, "You really believe that shit?" And she just got up and then she just kind of moved her arm, and her arm was just like totally she moved it kind of like weird, and then they're just like totally weirded out by this girl, and all of a sudden she started acting spun out again, just started kind of laughing and twirling around again, and they were so creeped out, just like so creeped out. From there, that girl just backed away from that girl and was just like, this girl's like fucking like, she was just getting like the worst vibes from her. and like wasn't trying to help her, wasn't trying to be associated with her, and she's like backing up. And luckily, like another vehicle, another truck seen that all happen, and then they pulled over, and then those other three were like, hey, can you give us a ride? But not her. And they said like they got security to come pick that girl up, and they ditched her, and they went in that vehicle and got a ride to the store over there. So then they go into the other store, but then the security end up coming back later, and they're like, who is that girl that you guys were with? And they're like, we don't know her, we just picked her up, and she asked for a ride to the general. And he was just like, man, he was like, I picked her up, and he said, she kept trying to jump out of the door. He said, and I was like, wasn't letting her. He said, the security said I was grabbing onto her shirt, and I was pulling it, and that girl was trying to jump out the door, outside of the passenger, and then he kept holding her shirt, and then she's like said she wouldn't, and then so he let her go, and they were driving in here. She opened up that door, jumped out, and like on all fours, and ran right into the field like a dog.
Ew.
SW frog. I know kind of lots of stories, but some are like family stories, like family lore and like things of, and if I tell them, I don't know if my family would be mad. So I know for real, they don't tell that story. Hey, or like, hey, no, not that one. Hey, Desiree, delete that video. So I don't want to tell some of my stories because I don't know.
Excuse me.
Some of these stories are just like they're not just like they're. Some of them I'm like, yeah, that's scary. I'm gonna tell it, like that, and I can kind of be like whatever. But some of them I don't really want to like. I don't even know. Like it's a lot of trauma. Like sometimes people see darkness and or something really scary, and it scares them straight. Like it scares them out of their addictions.
Hi, aging student.
They're partying and stuff like that. They see something really scary.
I'm just sewing. We're listening to scary stories.
And
not really able
so
to
I know
talk
a lot of
much.
Stories like that. And
I have a
just
cold.
Feel like, I don't know if these are
cold, allergies, something.
It's like, I don't know how there's just unexplainable kind of like dark sightings or whatever. But what I will share with you is that one of my late mentors, one of my adopted parents, whom I absolutely love and adore, he was doing lots of work for the people, and he was doing heart work, going from community to community, like, and he was doing crisis work. If someone was having an episode or they needed like a mental health therapist or anything like that, he was there. And he told me the story. He told us a story, and he said that be kind of the turn off to where the res goes in. Something happened, like his car broke down or whatever. Again, it was winter, and he was on his way to go help someone who was having what's the word? Offing themselves ideation, and he was going to go and support them in that crisis, and he couldn't get there in time, and because his car broke down and it's winter time. Oh my god! Stop! You're scaring me. You're scaring me. You're scaring me. Stop. So, anyways, he pulled over, and then his car was broken down, and he said all of a sudden this really freaking slick vehicle, looked like a freaking Rolls Royce or something, like a limousine,
it's like post nasal
something
drip.
Real swanky, really dope, pulled up. It had tinted windows, and he said, "Oh, I just got a real scary feeling. Like just like a scary feeling. Like, I felt like, who the hell is this pulling up?" And then they rolled the window down, and then he couldn't see in there, but he just knew it was like, his spirit knew that it was not good. And then that thing was like, "Hey, like, you need help?" Or it said something to him anyways. And then he just said, no, I'm good. I'm waiting for my son. I'm good. And then that thing was just like idling there, and then he was just like standing there, and he was like he said he's like, I just felt such an eerie feeling. He said, and I seen that thing drive away, and he said I was just watching it drive away. I could see the headlights. He said also I seen it turn, and it just turned into a field, and it drove up like kind of like a hill, and he's like, and that field is totally snowed in. There's no road there. There's no trail, no Sundance Trail, no nothing. He said that's just pure side of the hill. And he said pure snow. There's no way a vehicle could get through there. A snowmobile, yes. A Rolls Royce, no. Jokes. He just said he was just like, ooh. He said he just got the freaking creeps, man. And then I guess his son came and picked him up or whatever like that, and he was able to go help that person. But what he was telling me, or what he's telling us, was that when you do this work, and he said when you do goodness, he said sometimes you'll get tested by that ugly side. He said that other ugly side wants to let you know it doesn't like that you're doing good work, and something along those lines, anyways. And I was just like, holy shit. I was always scared. Sometimes when I see a really nice whip on the res, I'm kind of like, I know kind of lots of stories, but some are like family stories, like family lore and like things. And if I tell them, I don't know if my family would be mad. So I know for real, they'd be like, "Don't tell that story," hey, or like, "Hey, no, scary story." My friend, I was probably about 15 or 16 years old, and I was at my friend's house. And
Let me see if Sean's on now. Is he not going live tonight?
One thing you need to know about her, she's not for everybody.
Oh, come on. I don't think he is. I'll go back
One
to
thing you need to know about her,
post nasal drip. Where was I at?
so everybody knows that. Okay, I have another scary story.
Yeah, I got sick.
Another point.
I'm not sure if I should go tomorrow. Right now my head feels really
Scary.
like sinus pressure, and I'm having a lot of post nasal drip. And it's really annoying. I've been taking all of my, trying to take all my meds and vitamins. But I was busy today, feeling okay, and then when this evening came, I kind of started feeling crappy, and then I fell asleep. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna go tomorrow or not. I don't know. Are you going, Lori?
Story. My friend, I was probably about 15 or 16 years old, and I was at my friend's house. And her and her sister, their uncle was telling this to us. And he is now since passed on, God rest his soul. And but he told us a scary story, and then he came and stayed with them in Regina at the time, and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And he said, "Man, I got spooked out." He was like, "I was on the res and I got spooked out." He was like, "So I'm just kind of like laying low for a while. Let's come change the scenery or whatever." Anyways, we were like,
Oh, what
we were all
March?
like, oh yeah, and he was like,
What
"Well,
March
what
is
happened?"
that?
And we're all just kind of sitting there on the living room, and he was just like real serious, like he was telling us that story. He's like, man, he was like just like reliving it. And he was like, well, he was like, I was gaming. He was like at his cousin's house, or his friend, and he was saying we were gaming, and he said it was probably like 3:30, and he was like, we were just kind of getting tired and we're done for the night. And then
is that
he said,
tomorrow?
I'll let you guys go or whatever, like I'm gonna head out. And shit, it was just pure dark out too. And he was like, shit, I gotta walk home or whatever like that. So anyways, he dabbed up his cousin and he said, later, bro. And then he was like, hey. I don't know. And they just said goodbye. And then he left. And it was dark out. And he had kind of quite a ways to walk. But it was in the kind of a subdivision or like a town site. And there was light posts like between here and there. And then there was like this subdivision, and there was like this little area walkway, and then there was another subdivision. And he lived in the other one, like he lived in the other town site. And then so he had to walk from his cousin's house all the way to like through that little walkway area and get to his house.
Whoa.
So he said he was walking, and he said it was like he was kind of chilled, a little bit, kind of scared or whatever, but he was just like, oh, whatever, like that. He's walked that numerous times before, so he wasn't sweating it. So he's walking there, and he kind of heard rustling, like rustling bushes behind him. And he kind of just was like, what the hell? And he's kind of like, oh, like just trying to keep his eye on the prize and keep walking to the next lake. And then he heard kind of like laughing, kind of just like distantly, like kind of giggles or like kind of just like, I don't know. To me, in my mind, it didn't seem like giggles, maybe more menacing, more like, more not like, I don't know, man. What he was saying, like he heard giggling and like wrestling in the bushes, and they kept running. And so he just started picking up the pace, man. He's like, shit, I'm out of here, man. And so he went running, and he went running to the next light post. And he went running to the light post, and he'd like stand underneath that light post and just kind of like catch his breath and kind of like look around and then like take off to the next light post. He said he was going from light post to light post because the light was there. And he said when he was in the dark, he was just full tilt running. And he was like, he said he could still hear like sound like something was chasing him or like following him and like laughing. And he said he just like was freaking out. He was like freaking out. And then he stopped and like he like turned around, and then he was underneath the light post, and he stopped and he turned around and he could see something wrestling in the bushes. And then he said all of a sudden,
I probably should now. My throat's dry.
Joker.
Or it's like it's dry, and then that post-nasal just makes it worse.
Cards, what those like gestures look like. He said it was a gesture, and it had like a thing on, and it was walking on its hands, and it just like looked up, and it just had this really like ugly ass face, and it just started like running towards him on his hands, and its like legs were up. And he said as soon as he seen that, he was fucking out of there, man. He said, I don't think I've ever ran so fast in my life. He said, I just was like, it felt like I wasn't even touching the ground how fast I was running. I felt like I was just like, I've never ran that fast in my life. He said he ran home and he got into his house, and then he was just like freaking, he's just freaking out, man. And when he was telling us that story, like he was like almost like emotional, like he was like tearing up or like reliving it. Like there's no way in hell he was making that shit up. Like he was just like telling us a traumatic event that happened to him. And I think about that all the time. I mean, I that's one of the probably scariest things I've ever heard. Like I always just think like, hey, Jester, like just like Joker face, like just. I try to do it here. I'll show you guys. Scary story. My friend, I was probably about 15 or 16 years old, and I was at my friend's house. And I know kind of lots of stories, but some are like
That's the one we just
scary
listened to?
story. Like he was just like telling us a traumatic event that happened to him. This story is out of Louisville, Alberta. It happened around 10 years ago, and she would like to remain
anonymous. Uh-oh, what's going on? Why did it mute?
Bluetooth pairing. Bluetooth connected.
Yes. The story starts out, she is having drinks at a friend's house. The sun is kind of
You
going
guys
down.
stop.
And
I'm not
she
feeling
notices, and
good.
she was like, I better get back to my sister's before it gets dark because she has to walk. And so she goes, starts her walk, and she's on the gravel road. She doesn't see anybody like each way, but she starts her walk towards her sister's house. She's walking, and she starts to hear somebody behind her, and she just gets really creeped out. She's like, oh my gosh, she hears it coming closer and closer and closer, something coming closer. And then all of a sudden she turns around, and this guy comes out of nowhere.
That's Keanu bullying his
The most
brother.
gorgeous man she's ever seen in her life. She said, I was like, wow.
Keanu's always mean the juice.
And then she's like, oh my God, you scared me. And he was like, where are you going? And she was like, oh, I'm going to my sister's house. And he's like, can I walk you? And then she was like, sure. She's like, oh. So they walk, and they're walking towards her sister's house. She shows up at her sister's house. The babysitter's there, and the babysitter was like, oh, they're all next door.
Yeah,
So
she
then she walks
just
next
ruined the
door, and
story.
then there's kind of a little bit of a party going on there, and people are just vibing, listening to music. Some people are playing Mario Kart, and so she goes, starts her walk.
Juice, be quiet. Everybody can hear you being a brat.
But she starts her walk towards her sister's house. This story is out of Louisville, Alberta. It happened around 10 years ago, and she would like to remain anonymous. The story starts out, she is having drinks at a friend's house. The sun is kind of going down, and she notices, and she was like, I better get back to my sister's before it gets dark because she has to walk. And so she goes, starts her walk, and she's on the gravel road. She doesn't see anybody like each way, but she starts her walk towards her sister's house. She's walking, and she starts to hear somebody behind her, and she just gets really creeped out. She's like, oh my gosh, she hears it coming closer and closer and closer, something coming closer. And then all of a sudden she turns around, and this guy comes out of nowhere, and he's the most gorgeous man she's ever seen in her life. She said, I was like, wow. He was like so handsome. And then she was like, oh my God, you scared me. And he was like, where are you going? And she was like, oh, I'm going to my sister's house. And he's like, can I walk you? And then she was like, sure. Like, oh. So they walk, and they're walking towards her sister's house. She shows up at her sister's house. The babysitter's there, and the babysitter was like, oh, they're all next door. So she walks next door, and then there's kind of a little bit of a party going on there, and people are just vibing, listening to music. Some people are playing Mario Karts, and she's like, yeah, there's just people vibing there. And then all of a sudden, that handsome man pulls out a 2.6 of vodka, seemingly out of nowhere, because she said it didn't really seem like he had anywhere to hide it, and she thought, oh, she didn't know where it came from. And they came in, and he was like, he brought that bottle, and then they're like, oh yeah, come in. And she said that nobody knew who this guy was, and on the res, everybody knows everybody, and they've never seen this guy. And she said all the ladies were like, damn, who is this? This guy's freaking handsome as hell. And then they're all drinking. She's like, they're taking shots, they're having mixes, they're drinking for a while. And after a while, she's getting pretty tipsy, and she notices that bottle is still really full. And it's like, that's impossible. She said that should have been gone a long time ago. And she mentions it to the other people, and then they kind of realize, yeah, why is this bottle not going down? So they look at that guy, and he's sitting there on a coffee table, and his legs are crossed, and he's just kind of staring at them. And then they're looking at them with this look on his face, and they were like, why aren't you drinking? And they're like, where'd you get this bottle from? And they start questioning him, and he's just not answering them. He's just sitting there. And then kind of just had they all came to that realization at the same time. They all just got creeped out that they realized who they were drinking with. They kicked him out. The guys are like, hey. So they kick him out, and they're like, get the fuck out of here, man. Whatever. And he leaves, and they have this bottle that's still full. So they dump it out and then smash it. And then they're all like, they're all shook up and get chilled up and everything. And but you know what? This story, I've heard this story numerous times, and I've heard this story to people I know, other people I know. This story is not, uncommon. It happens to a lot of people, which is how could that same experience happen all over? And I really want to thank people for sharing. Come watch my live, join my live, and now that the power is over, I'm back on my bullshit. I'm back on my scary story bullshit. And this story comes out of Alexander First Nation. The kids are all come to the front. My kids are actually out there right now. So if you're watching this, Anna and Jason, scroll past. Cover your ears. So I'm not sure if she wanted to remain anonymous or not, but I'll keep her anonymity. But anyways, so she said she was babysitting. She was babysitting, and after they got home, she got in her vehicle, whatever like that, and she's gonna head home. And so she's cruising away there, and then just to the right, she sees a man on the side of the road. She just kind of cruised past him, and in that second there, she said, "Gee, was that my uncle?" And then she said, "Oh, I'll just turn around and see if he needs a ride." And so she turned around and she's kind of pulling him up now. Now she's facing towards him, and she came up closer to him. And when she was just kind of gonna approach him, she noticed that he had really wicked big arms, like big long arms that were dragging on the ground, and he was just dragging his arms, and she didn't know who he was or whatever like that. And she was just like, "Is that a fucking gorilla? Is that a gorilla, man?" Just kidding. No, she didn't say that. She just said that she just fucking noticed how disproportionate he was and how he was just dragging his arms, man. And then she said it was just so bizarre. She kept driving. She wicked turned around, and I don't know if she had to Austin Powers it, pull forward and back up and then pull forward again, and then all while looking at that big long armed Gigi. That Gigi is just that Gigi man just the fuck. She turned back around, just peeled out, and then took off. And she never seen that. She didn't have no explanation why that guy's what she's seen or whatever like that. But she's whoever that was had big motherfucking arms, big long arms. And then she was driving away. She said that he just was just really weighted and really big. It's kidding. No, he didn't. That part's a lie. But the original stuff, the other stuff is true. Now that the power is over, I'm back on my bullshit. I'm back on my scary story bullshit. And this story comes out of Alexander First Nation. Okay, this story comes out of the Navajo Nation. The lady told me that her cousin, and her sister were all at her house, and they were all just chilling there. Her sister got up to leave, and she was like, "Hey, where are you going?" And she's like, "Oh, cousin Bobette wants to go home." And then she was just like, "Oh, so I'm gonna drive her home." And then she was just like, "Oh, okay." Anyway, she didn't pay much mind, and then she kind of watched her sister leave, and then heard her leave, noticed their headlights turn on, and just drive out. And then she was just like, "Oh," she didn't see her cousin Bobette leave, but she said she wasn't really paying much mind. She said they must have gone. Anyways, they're pulling out. They were already her sister was already long gone. Anyways, all of a sudden Bobette walks into the living room and she's like, "Hey, what the hell? What's your name? Don't bring you home here." And then she was like, "Oh, she left me then." She was like, "What, did she just drive away without me?" And they're kind of laughing. They're like, "Well, call her." And so they called her, and then Bobette's like, "Put it on speaker." And then they put it on speaker, and then she was just like, "Where are you going?" And then they're like, she was like, "I'm going to drive her home." And then she was just like, and then she's on the phone. She's like, "I'm right here. What do you mean you're driving me home?" And you just left me. And they kind of laughed. And she said she just was silent, and you could just see her going, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." And then she was like, "Stay on the phone with me, stay on the phone with me." And then she's like, "Oh my god, there's no one here, there's no one here." And then she wasn't that far away. And she was just coming racing back. She's in the headlights coming, just driving super fast to the house, and they're all like, "What the hell?" And then she came inside, and she was just like, "Oh my god." She was like, "When I was I said I was gonna drive you home, right?" And then she was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Well, I went outside in the car, and then you came behind me, and I had already seen you and walked past outside the house. And she said, put your hood up. Your hood was up. And then you went inside in the back seat. And I'm like, is that weird? Why is he in the back seat? Like, real dramatic. And then
What?
she didn't think anything of it. She said, she must be in a mood or something like that. Or maybe she's listening to some music and has her.
Watch a show where?
I don't know. She's like, maybe she's mad at me. I don't know. She said she was like, whatever. I'm just gonna drive her home. And I was her acting up somehow. So she drove away, and then
Bella and Keanu is being mean to Juice.
Then we thought when she got the call that her cousin was there. Like, she didn't even have her cousin. And she said, well, who the hell is that? And we turned around, and then there was nobody there. And she was like, I swear there was a woman that looked like you but had her hood up. I couldn't really see, but at the time I didn't make much mind of it. I just thought it was when you sat in the back seat. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, this story comes out of Navajo Nation. The lady told me that her
I didn't even
cousin
hear
and
that
her
story.
sister were all at her house, and they were all. Another spooky story out of Muscatine, Alberta. It was around 2019, and this guy and a couple of his friends snuck out to be little shitheads. They'd go out at night and run away from security and just kind of like just act out. All these kids they would meet and message and say where to meet up, and they'd all meet up there. And this specific night, so they met in this big open school field, and they're just hanging out, and there's about 5 or 6 of them. They were just hanging out, laughing around and everything like that. And they said this random white chick just came out of nowhere, just like all of a sudden came from the bush, the tree line, and she just came along, and they were all like, where'd she come from? And they could see her coming from the bush, come kind of from afar away. So they were like, where'd she come from? Just come, like, did she walk through the bush? And she was walking towards them from far away, and they were all kind of like just like while waiting for her to approach them. It was a huge field, right? So they were like, where the hell did you come from? They asked her. So this girl starts talking, and she's like pale as fuck, he said. And she just kind of like, she doesn't mention her name. She doesn't say anything like that. And she's not asking like direct, she's not answering like from their direct questions. She said none of them recognized her or anything like that. And she was like, we would have recognized her. She was about like similar age to them or whatever. And then she was like, who are you guys? And she's like, she were rich famous people. They joked towards her.
Damn, Keanu's naughty, man.
It's like late, and then she said,
Bella
I'm going to the
too.
store. And they all looked at each other, and they said, the store's closed. It was like 2 a.m. at this point. All these guys are like, she was like, do you want to come? Does anyone want to come in the store with me?
You don't want him to go in there. Leave him alone. These boys don't even care that their mom's sick and feels all cheap. Here they still act stupid. Naughty boys.
And then they're all like, I don't want to go with you. Like, she just had no really emotion, and she kind of had like a soulless fake face. And then they're all joking around with each other too. Like, I'm not trying to get took. They asked this girl, like, well, where do you come from? Like, where do you live? And she says, I come from right over there. And where they point, there's like nothing there. And like even behind like that tree line, there's like no houses there, nothing like that. And they're like, well, where? Anyway, so the group of kids decide to like just walk away or whatever like that. And she kind of stays there. And they're sort of past the field, and they're getting close to one of the friends' house. And then they said all of a sudden they could see that girl still standing in the field. And then she started walking towards them, but she had her hands straight down. She had her hands straight down, and her face was like real, like still, like real, like blank face. And she was running real fast with their hands stiff. Anyways, these two, they kind of split up a bit, and the 2 boys, they go off there by their truck, and they're like hiding by the truck trying to ditch this girl. And then so she like gets up there, and she's like looking around, and then she was just like, everywhere they would go, she'd just pop up, and then they were really trying to ditch her, and they were just like really freaking out. They said they sprint really fast, and they're like dead ass this girl could like catch up and just pop out of nowhere and just be there. They thought it was really weird because she was wearing a yellow tank top and shorts, and it was cold out. It was like really cold out. They were all like had jackets on and everything like that, and they're like, shit, this girl doesn't even have clothes on. So they finally go inside the house. They get inside the house, and when they're looking outside, they look outside the curtains and like just to see where she is. And they could see that girl, and she said she was just freaking almost like she was on all fours running back towards that field.
Ew.
And they're just like her and him, and they're just like totally freaked out. He would like to remain anonymous, but that was a good story, and his writing was really good, and he was really funny. Another spooky story out of Muscatine. Okay, I heard a scary story and I'm not too sure if it's true or not, but I'm going to share it anyways because it's freaking scary. So this comes out of a res in Saskatchewan, and the cops get a welfare check. They go to do a welfare check. I guess there's a couple people here that some people said to go check on or whatever. They get to this house and they just got the creeps walking up to it, and then they open up the door or whatever like that. They're like, I guess they must have had a warrant to come in anyways. They came in and then they said the stench was awful and there was blood everywhere. And they said that there was really, really kind of symbolism, like just drawn out of blood, like everywhere. And then they were just kind of like they're like, holy smokes, like they just came across a big crime scene. And here they went into the house further, and then they seen that guy. They seen a body, and then they seen that guy, and he was crawling on the walls and crawling on the ceilings. And they said that the constables, they're fucking totally traumatized. I guess a couple of them took leave, and the other ones quit their jobs. I don't know if that's true or not, but that sounds straight out of a fucking movie. Okay, I heard a scary story, and I'm not too. This story comes out of Tulalip, Washington, and this was about 10 to 12 people were all partying, having a bonfire outside of the house. Nobody was inside the house, and there is one way in and one way out. And so they're all sitting around there having a few, and then they see this old 1970s white Impala driving slow, and the headlights were on. It was kind of getting like, it was dark, but it wasn't super dark. It wasn't super late there, and they had the fire there, and so they seen that white Impala driving up, and then they're all like, oh, who's that? They're all like, kind of like, oh, someone's pulling up here. Anyways, that car drove past, and then it drove past, and it was going to park behind the house, they thought. So a couple of them got up and then went to go run over there, and they went back there, nothing. They went back around the house, nothing. There's only one way in and one way out, and behind that is bush and ocean. And they were just like, they didn't know. Everybody's seen it. Everybody's seen the whole vehicle, and they didn't know who it was. And they were saying like it was just like a ghost car that just pulled up, and they were saying like, holy, like they all got chills. They're all freaking out, and they're just like, where the hell did that come? Who is that? And like, ghost car. Join my live to hear more scary stories right here. Join my live. This story comes out of Tulalip, Washington.
I should make some tea.
This story comes from a lady named Charity. She was hitchhiking back in 2019 to from North Battleford to Little Pine, and they went the Sweetgrass route. And she did get a ride. Somebody dropped her off, and they said, oh, we can't take you as far as Sweetgrass. They dropped her off, and when she started walking, it was just blizzarding. It was so cold. There was about a foot of snow on the fresh snow on the ground, and she was walking on that highway there, and nobody was really coming along, and she was walking. She was starting to get exhausted. She was starting to get like just really cold to the point where she was numb, and she was getting really tired. And so she said, if I just close my eyes for a little bit, maybe I'll just take a seat for a little while, and maybe just take a nap, and someone will see me if they drive by. And so she was just about to like start to sit down and close her eyes, and then she seen headlights. When those headlights pulled up, it was a white 2-door car, and a man in his early 30s opened up the door, and he was like, hop in. And she was just like, oh, okay, yeah. And she hopped in. He said, where are you headed? And she said, I'm going to Little Pine. And he said, okay, well, he's like, he drove up to an approach, and there was a house with lights on. And he said, my sisters live in that house over there. And he said, and they'll help you. And he turned the heat up on for her just to get a little bit warm. And he was like, I'll drop you off here. And she was like, oh, thank you. And then he was like, yeah, you're welcome. And he was really kind and really, really just helpful. She was just grateful for his help. Anyways, he dropped her off, and then she walked up to the approach and walked to the front door, and he already had pulled out, and she knocked on the door, and 2 women answered the door, and they're like, they're like, come in right away when it was really snowing, and she looked obviously just like a little icicle. And they brought her in, and she said hi. She introduced herself, and she just said, your brother picked me up here and dropped me off and told me that you'd be able to help me, or just kind of explained what he said. And they just said they just looked shocked, and they brought her in. They gave her a blanket and gave her some tea and was just helping her warm up there. And then you could tell that they were a little bit on edge a bit, and they sat down, and then they said, our brother, so explain, who dropped you off here? How did he look, and what was he driving, and everything like that? And she said, oh, he was a nice man in his 30s, possibly. She said he was very kind, and he was driving a white two-door car. Yeah, and he just picked me up and just didn't even drive me very far and told me to go into this house. And I thanked him, and I came in here, and then they were just like shocked. And they said, our brother passed away a few years ago, and he drove a two-door white car. And they were just shocked. And Charity was saying, if it wasn't for their brother's kind heart and his good spirit, she would have died of hypothermia on the side of the highway. And she shared that story, and we were all just like, oh my gosh, that is kind of spooky, but then it's also very beautiful at the same time. This story comes from a lady named Charity. She was hitchhiking back in 2019 to, this story takes place in Regina, Saskatchewan. A lady and her friend were drinking all night, and when they woke up the next day, they started drinking again. And so it was during the day, and they were outside. Her friend was like, I'm gonna use the washroom. Her friend goes to use the washroom, and that lady is sitting there by herself, and she sees this man come up to the house on a horse. Gets out, comes in, and he comes and sits down, and he asks, who are your grandparents? And she tells him, and he said, yeah, I know. And then she was like, okay. And then he was like, who is your parents? And she says who her parents are, and he says, I knew that too. And then she was like, okay. And he said, where'd you grow up? And she said, oh, I grew up here. And he's like, yeah, I knew that. And then she was just like creeped out. Mind you, she was hammered at the same time, but she said that he was very good looking. He had long, like his hair was long and like curly. She had really smooth skin. Looked like he was just so handsome. She said he was fine. And anyways, he said, hey, I'll come back and visit you again. And she said, okay. And then he left, and before he turned around, he smiled. And when he smiled, she said he was just like smoking hot. Her friend comes back from the bathroom, and she's like, did you see that guy? That guy is like left on a horse. And she was like, what? And she said, yeah. She explained like what she just seen with the kind of conversation. And her friend's like, you just seen the devil. And she was just like, what? Like, didn't even make no sense. Anyway, so she was like, so she sobered up or whatever like that. And every night, every time she like closed her eyes, she would just picture that man and his smile. But over the course, she got so scared of him that she just pictured his like face, and he wasn't good looking anymore. He was ugly, and he was like, she said his teeth are just sharp and yellow. His face was all started distorted. His hair was straggly, and then she said even to the point where she closed her eyes, and he's just like, when she opened up her eyes, like he's just like right there, and she'd just be freaking out like for like weeks at a time. She kept being visited by this thing, and she's like, man, I gotta fucking change my ways, because I don't want to be inviting that darkness around. This story takes place in Regina, Saskatchewan. A lady and her friend were drinking.
Oh, I keep hitting the phone.
Speaking of, me, fuck, I'm just driving, man. But I wanted to share a story about the highwayman. And the highwayman, they said that, that's scary. Scary myself. It's daylight. I gotta get there before it gets dark, guys. Well, there's a man there, and my mom, you know, she always used to tell me, hitchhikers, you never know, that could be an angel, she would say. And then at the same time, like, she would tell me, don't you ever pick up hitchhikers? So I said, which one is it, Mom? Is it a freaking angel or just fucking ditch them? And I always wondered that though, because I was be seeing hitchhikers and I'd be like, could be an angel. Pick them up. Just kidding, no. But anyways, as I was saying, the highwayman. So the highwayman, he would be there and he'll be like asking for a ride or whatever like that. And you see, oh shit, pull over, scoop him up. Here he's really fucking handsome, man. Really fucking handsome. Just kidding, no. I don't know if he's handsome. Just trying to add that in. Fuck, he's fucking dime piece. Just kidding, no need. No need, Gigi man, freaking honey. Jokes, no, but anyways, anyways, they dropped that man off or whatever like that. He's like, he needs to use a washroom or something. You pull over and you get him out, and so he's going pee in the back there. Anyways, he doesn't come back, and you're like, where the fuck did he go? It's all like, where did he go? But you know, like that, you're waiting for him, just like as a courtesy, you're not gonna just ditch him. And then you go there and he's not there. Anyways, you're like, I don't know where he went, man. So you're just kind of like, you gotta get on your own. You're on your own time. Just shut the door, roll out, and just kind of just like, gee, I hope he gets there safe. That's random. Anyways, still driving, and then all of a sudden you kind of see something from the peripheral. You kind of just like look and you're like, what the fuck? And then hear that same guy was just running alongside the car, and he's fucking stepped on it, man. He's fucking pedal to the metal, and here he's just running there, just looking at him, smiling. Fucking was fucking really fast. That's actually not that scary when I think about it. Like, you're kind of like, nah, I'm fucking carried away. But then when you actually think about it, yo, and he's fucking like, fuck you, man. Nah, just fucking. Speaking of. Don't mind me. Fuck, I'm just. I remember this story comes out of Treaty 7. A friend of mine told me this story. If you remember telling me the story and you want to whatever, I'm only gonna tell you what I remember, how I remember you telling me this. So a friend of mine's relative was drinking, and they were drinking and driving, and they ended up getting into a wreck, and that person's relative passed away, and everybody was really sad and everything like that. And they had their burial and everything like that. Flash forward.
Can you give me my medicine juice?
My friend was having drinks, and he was
all of that in that bag.
Driving around, and he's like, "Oh, you're late to pee. Pull over." And so they pulled over, and he got out and started peeing on the side of the road. And he said he was peeing there, and he said all of a sudden he seen his deceased cousin, his cousin who was passed away last year, walking up, and she said, hey, where you going? And he said he just like freaked the fuck out when he seen that. He was like, oh, and he said he just fucking peed all over himself and running, and he was dangling back to the No, he was just like, he just said he was like, what are you doing? He said, you passed away. And she's like, hey, give me a ride. She was walking in from the ditch, and then she just like, it was like she was normal. Like he said, like it was like she was normal, and then she was like still alive. She was like asking like where I was going, and like, let me get a ride. And he just fucking, he said he was freaked out, went running back into the car, jumped in. I don't even know if he pulled his pants up yet. I don't know what those details or how fast any of that stuff. I know for me, I'd be fucking mooning. You see me, it's like in buns. Just kidding, no. But he said he just dropped it, and he's like, go, drive. And he said he just started like getting upset, and everyone's like, what did you see? What happened? And he said, I seen.
Went to the IHS.
And they're like, what?
they're like, yeah, she said, I seen her and she was trying to come with us. And then they just said they're just real quiet. And they said they all they were drinking and stuff like that. They said they're just sober. They just got scared, like, right? Wicked scared. If you remember telling me that story, let me know. I remember the story comes up at Treaty 7. I was trying to encourage my really good friend to start telling her stories because this one time we were just, I was in life skills coach training back in like years ago, like 2012. And that was in North Battleford. Here I was just connecting, you know, when you're in a group and you're like you have to be in a group for like a long period of time, you start to become like a family, you get used to each other, you kind of start to get to know each other. And, well, anyways, a good friend of mine, and I don't know if she wants me to say her name. I won't say her name just out of protection of her anonymity. Just kidding. But, oh shit, the cops are here, you guys. Just kind of slow it down and check it out. Anyways, as I was saying, so I was connecting with her and she started telling me ghost stories. Now this woman can fucking tell a story, man, for real. And I was just like, holy shit, like she told me like count like probably about 3 or 4 different stories just over a lunch hour. And I was saying like, man, you gotta fucking tell people these stories. And I never forgot what she said. And I don't want to repeat them because I know she'll be watching and she'll be like, you're telling it wrong. No, that's not how it happened. It didn't look like that. Just kidding. No, but I want her to share them from her own first person perspective.
Got my tea, Larry.
So if you're watching this, make those videos. Tag me in them. I'll share them. I thought maybe we could go live together at some point, and then you could share them. And we can like visit, and maybe they can prompt those questions out of you. But sometimes our stories might borderline, like I said before, our storylines might borderline things you don't really talk about online. You know, so I just want to say like, because they're like, you know, we talk about ghost stories in this really like palatable, like tame way, and when really you're talking about spirit. And there's lots of ghost stories too about like darkness, like which is different, and because you can tell when
Tastes
you
real bitter. I don't remember drinking this tea. I must have bought it a while back.
Your hair stands up, or you get goosebumps, and that's your spirit. Your spirit knows the truth. Your spirit can recognize like something that your body can't receive, but your spirit can. And so when you have like a reaction that way, you know something's there. Some people are more
it's real bitter.
You know,